This is the last 2 pages of practice midterm number 2. I'm just going to go through and do it. What I recommend as far as you studying is that you go through and do it completely first before you watch this video. Because if you just watch this video, then I've done it and then you don't have any other practice to do. Whereas if you do it first, then you maybe make some mistakes, you catch your mistakes, you correct them. That's a much better way of studying. So if you haven't done this already, stop the video, do it first, and come back to it. Barry's phone plan. Barry has a prepaid phone plan, Plan A, that charges 10 cents for each text and 5 cents per minute for calls. If Barry uses only text, write an equation for the cost C of sending T text. Okay, so first it says, the first thing I'm going to do, it says write an equation for. I don't have to understand anything that's going on. In order for me, it says write an equation for, and then what am I writing an equation for? This. So it's going to be C equals. So now let's go back and make sure I understand so I can write this equation. So I wanted an equation that gives me the cost of sending T text. And how much is each text? It's 10 cents for each text. So that means every time I send a text, it's going to cost me 10 cents. So if I send one text, it's only 10 cents. But if I send 7 texts, then it's 70 cents. So what operation is that? That's multiplying. I take 10 cents and I multiply it by however many texts I send. So let's write 10 cents, and that's written like this, times the number of texts I send, which is T. So there we go. It's 10 cents times T. So how much will it cost Barry to send 25 texts? Well, we can just use our equation. In this case, T, right? How many texts is T? So this is 25. Okay, again, feel free to use your calculator here. 10 cents times 25 is 250. Okay, and for a problem like this, you could just box it, right? The key is, like, it should have a dollar sign on it. You know what I mean? You don't have to write a full sentence that says it would cost Barry $2.50 to send 25 texts. That's not necessary, but it should have a dollar sign, right? Like, that's basic. If Barry has $8, how many texts can he send? Show your work to justify your answer. Okay, so again, I have this same equation, which is the cost equals 10 cents times the number of texts. So what is this? Is this the number of texts or the cost? Well, that's the cost. If he has $8, that's how much he can spend. That's how much his text can cost. So instead of plugging it in for T, we're going to plug it in for C. So now instead of writing C equals 0.10 times T, I'm going to write A equals 0.10 times T. And how do I solve this one? Well, remember, my goal is to get the variable by itself, right? I want to know how many texts. That's T. So right now, T is being multiplied by 0.10. So that's what I have to undo. So the opposite of multiplication is division. And 8 divided by 0.10 is 80. Okay? And again, you don't need to write a full sentence here, but you do need to write what the 80 is, right? It's not $80. It's 80 texts. Okay. Next, if Barry uses only the talking features of his plan, write an equation for the cost C of talking and minutes. Okay, so now here we were talking about texting, and now we're talking about talking. So it still says write an equation for the cost, so I'm still at C equals. And then this is, for talking, it's 5 cents per minute. Okay, so it's similar to the text, except now instead of 10 cents, it's going to be 5 cents. And what are we going to use to represent minutes? It says N. Okay. So how much will it cost Barry to talk for 12 minutes? So that's 12 is M, right? The M is the number of minutes, so I'm going to C equals 0.05, and I'm going to substitute 12 in. Okay, and then I'm going to multiply here. Right, C is already by itself. I have a variable by itself already, so I'm not moving things around. I'm just multiplying here. So 5 cents times 12 is 60 cents. Okay, again, you just need to write this in a way that actually reflects your answer. You can write it like this, is fine. This means 60 cents. Or you can write it like this, 60 cents. Okay, either way is totally fine. Either of these answers is correct. If Barry has $8, how many minutes can he talk? Okay, so this is very similar to the last one, right? Now, my cost is $8, so I'm going to substitute in 8. 0.05 m. I want m by itself, so what do I do on both sides? Well, right now m is being multiplied by 0.05. I'm going to do the opposite, which is divide. Okay, this cancels. M equals, and 8 divided by 0.05 is 160. And it's 160 what? And here's the thing, if you're confused about 160 what, you look at what it equals, right? Up here, it equaled t. Well, what does t equal? T is the number of texts. Here, the 160 is m. What's m? M is the number of minutes, right? So this is 160 minutes. Okay, so that's the front. If you have questions on the front, ask, because the back sort of builds on it. So pause and ask if you have questions on this. If Barry uses both talk and text, write an equation for the cost C of sending t text and talking m minutes. Okay, so now we're still writing an equation for the cost, so it's still C equals. And we have, basically, we're going to combine the two equations from the previous page, right? So one of our equations was about texts, and one of them was about minutes, and now we're going to take those two costs, and he's going to send some texts, and he's going to talk some minutes, and we're going to add them. So that's literally exactly what we're going to do. Here's the equation for texts, and here's the equation for minutes, and we're just going to add them together, right? His cost for text gets added to his cost for minutes. So how much will it cost Barry to send 7 texts and talk for 12 minutes? And just be careful here. Where does the 7 go? Well, it's text, so it goes for T. Where does the 12 go? Well, it's minutes, so it goes for M, right? So C equals 0.10. And then there's supposed to be a T here, so I'm going to substitute in 7 times 0.05, and there's supposed to be an M here, so I'm going to substitute in 12, right? And you can even do this. This is a good strategy, right? This is T and M. You can even do that first. Okay, so C equals 10 cents times 7 is 70 cents. And 5 cents times 12 is 60 cents. And then I'm going to add them. And I get 1.30. Okay? Now, if you do this in your calculator, what you're going to get is 0.7 and 0.6, and you're going to get 1.3. 1.3 is not an acceptable answer. This answer is not correct. It says how much will it cost, so you need to give it with a dollar sign. And 1.3 is not a money amount, right? You have to write 130. Like this. Next question. If Barry wants to send 21 texts and only has $7.12, how many minutes can he talk? Will this use all his money? If not, how much money will he have left? Show your work and explain how you arrived at your conclusion. Okay, this is a way more complicated problem. So let's start by using this strategy. It's 21 texts, so this 21 is T. He has $7.12, so that's how much his cost can be. That's how much he has. So this is going to be C. And the how many minutes, right? That means the M is what we're trying to figure out, is the question mark here. Okay, so we're going to use the equation. And I'm actually going to just copy the equation right here before I plug in, just to make sure that I don't make any mistakes. Okay, so C, I'm plugging in 712. And T, I'm plugging in 21. And then M, I'm keeping M because that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for how many minutes can he talk. And then we'll come back to this, will he use all his money? This is sort of a complicated question. So let's see what I can do to solve this equation. My variable's here, right? So my goal is to get my variable by itself. So let's see what I have first. I actually have some multiplication to do here first, so I'm going to just do that first. I'm going to bring everything else down. 10 cents times 21 is $2.10. My variable's still here, and I have a number being multiplied by my variable, coefficient, and I also have a constant over here. So we like to get rid of constants first. I'm going to subtract 210. Okay, and feel free to use your calculator for this. I'm not using my calculator, and feel free to sort of try it, mental math. On the midterm, I would suggest that you check work on the calculator. There's no reason not to. Okay, and so here's where I'm at right now, and I'm kind of seeing, right? I'm seeing I have $5.02 left over after the tax, and that the minutes are 5 cents each. So I'm seeing already I'm going to have some extra. Let's keep going though and solving and seeing sort of how I could figure out how much extra. So this is m is being multiplied by 0.05. So I need to undo that. I'm going to divide. So I get m equals, and here I am going to use my calculator. So I have 5.02 divided by 0.05, and it's 100.4. So basically what this is saying is I can talk 100.4 minutes, but the thing is that's not how cell phone companies charge minutes. It's not like you can talk a minute and a half and they'll charge you for half the minute. They charge you for full minutes. And so it doesn't really mean you can talk for 100.4 minutes. It's saying that if you had $7.12, right, that's the amount you could talk for. But realistically, you could actually only talk for 100 minutes, because once you start that next minute, it's going to charge you for 101 minutes, which he doesn't have enough for. So let's make sure we answer all the questions here. How many minutes can he talk? Okay, so I'm going to write, I'm going to leave a little bit more room for work here. So look how I'm arranging my work. Arranging my work is important. Barry can talk for 100 minutes, right? He actually can't talk that 0.4 minutes because they'll charge him for 101 minutes, and he doesn't have that much. So that's the first question. The next question is, will this use all his money? Well, the thing is this 0.4, it's like he has a little extra money, but he can't really spend, right? That's the issue, is he actually can't use that 0.4 minutes. So I'm going to just answer questions as I realize the answer to them. I'm going to answer them. Will this use all his money? This will not use all his money. If not, how much money will he have left? Okay. Well, the thing is he can only talk 100 minutes, so he can't talk the 100.4. So the question is, how much will he spend if he talks 100 minutes? Okay, well, there's sort of a shorter way to figure it out, which is you realize right here that he has $5 left for his minutes, and so you could figure it out from there. But maybe you don't realize that, and that's okay. And I'm going to sort of go back to the start and say, well, what would be his cost if he sent 21 texts, right, which is what the problem says, and talked 100 minutes? What would be his cost? And then we could figure out, well, if he has 712 and he spends however much, we can just subtract. So we've already done this multiplication, right? That's 210. And then 0.05 times 100 is $5. 210 plus 5 is 710. So his cost, if he sent 21 texts and talked for 100 minutes, his cost would be 710. And he has 712. So if we take away that 710, he's left with 2 cents. Okay? So I'll write, he will have 2 cents left. Okay? Now, it says show your work and explain how you arrived at your conclusion. And the thing is by showing my work very carefully, I've already explained it. Now, if your work is all over the place, now you need to write a sentence explaining, well, first I got 100.4 and I realized he can only talk 100 minutes, right? You're making a lot more work for yourself. But if you just show your work carefully, right? And like here I could, my conclusion here is 100 minutes. Watch how I make my work also an explanation. I can sort of do it at the same time. So watch. I'm just going to add a couple things to my work here. Right? Here's where the 100 minutes goes. Here's the final cost. And then here's my leftover. And so just by keeping my work neat and then adding a few labels here and there, I've made my explanation clear. Okay. Number 4, Barry discovers another prepaid phone plan, Plan B, that charges a flat fee of $10 per month and then 5 cents per text sent or minute used. Okay, interesting. They have the same price now. Write an equation for the cost C. Okay, look, it's that same. Write an equation for the cost C of Plan B if P is a text sent or minute used. Okay, so this is actually kind of like the earlier problems, right, which is I just have this P, which is either a text or a minute, and it's 5 cents each. So every time I send a text or talk a minute, I have to multiply it by 5 cents. So that's here. But then what I haven't included yet is this. A flat fee is it means it doesn't change. It's just, it's the same fee no matter what. And so this means that I'm paying $10 a month. No matter how many texts and minutes I send, I have to pay $10 a month. So whatever cost I have for 5 cents each for texts and minutes, I also have that additional $10. So I'm going to add that $10. Okay, so there's my equation for plan B. And then last one. In an average month, Barry sends 100 texts and talks for 300 minutes. Which plan will cost Barry the least amount of money? Justify your answer by showing work, okay, using the equations you wrote in questions 3 and 4. Justify whether Barry should choose plan A or B in a complete sentence. Okay, so let's be careful and make sure we hit all of this, right? It says justify your answers by showing work. I have to use the equations from questions 3 and 4, and then I need to write a complete sentence. So let's make sure we do all that. So first, let me make sure my work is organized. I'm going to write plan A, plan B. Okay, now plan A uses this equation from number 3, and my equation for number 3 is this, right? That's plan A, and so I'm just going to copy it. Okay, and then plan B, my equation I just wrote is right here. Copy that. Okay, so already I'm making sure to follow the directions, which is I'm using the equations from questions 3 and 4. Now, let's take a look. In an average month, Barry sends 100 texts and talks for 300 minutes. Okay, so this is T, this is M, and then here I have this weird variable P, which is these two combined, right? So I'm going to have to combine those two for P. But basically what I'm going to do is figure out how much plan A costs, how much plan B costs, and then decide which one's cheaper, right? So C equals, let's start over here. I'm going to do this times 100, and this times 300. Okay, and again, maybe you feel comfortable doing this stuff in your head. That's totally fine. I 100% support mental math, but if I'm doing a midterm, right, then I'm going to use a calculator just to make sure I don't make silly mistakes that cost me points on a midterm, right? So this is 10 cents times 100 is 10, and then 5 cents times 300 is 15. 10 plus 15 is 25. So plan A is going to cost them $25. Okay. Now plan B. Here I'm substituting in for P. Remember, P is text plus minutes, so it's going to be 100 plus 300. And so now this is sort of an order of operations, right? This is parentheses first, so this is 400. Then I have 0.05 times 400 is $20. Plus 10 is $30. So interesting. So plan A is going to cost him $25 and plan B is going to cost him $30. So which one should he choose? Well, I think that he would want to pay less money, so he should choose plan A. So I'm going to write there, and this is here's my complete sentence, right? Remember to make sure you meet all the requirements the question is asking for. Barry should choose plan A because, look, it's going to be, this is 25, this is 30, it's $5 less, because it will cost him $5 less per month. Okay, and there we go. We're all done.